I don't know why the flash came on, but it's on. This is basically a test of how much recording time I have left before I upload my other videos. My last video was kind of seems to be me speaking about what I need and then getting it or doing it. I don't know. It was an interesting manifestation. At the end of that one, where I got like where I got very emotional, that was quite literally like that was quite literally like 30 minutes ago. But with what I was saying is each trajectory and each build up and taking on too much and whatnot. So that's what happens when I access something that has an emotional tie built up. The emotion floods and uh, I leak from the eyes. Um, that's how I describe it. It turns into from my perspective, it's the literal manifestation of release through water and through your eyes, because your eyes are your eyes are the window to a lot of things, the soul, but the eyes are very powerful. They're quite literally black holes. And what's inside of a black hole. So that's my understanding of what that was hitting a point, getting to an uncomfortable place, and seeing what happens. So what I was getting to was children and the destruction of innocence. And in one of my other videos, I kind of hit on how there are the people who were so dark. When I say dark, I mean like in the dark. To not, to either not know love and connection, or to have that severed. And that starts at a very young age, unbelievably young. So this is the calmest way that I can communicate more than what needs to be said, because of what others have already put into lines of communication in this existence. They've built prior to 2012, leading up to 2012, and up to now. 2012 is my reference point, the end of 2011. So these kids these kids are groomed for special for groomed to be specialists, and they count as empty space because of the lack of bridging of experience and conscious. Well, yeah, the lack of conscious bridging of experience. To when the experiences are bridged, um, this is an emotional reaction that 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 gives feeling, that recalibrates the mind and how it's been manipulated. It's like a self calibration. Okay, oh, so Ogdelez, that's this is what I don't want to hear myself say. So been I've been working very hard to deprogram my programming. I don't. I can't speak on that actually. I can't speak on things I don't know, and if I do, I have to say um, that it's speculation. But what I don't want to talk about is the experience of compartmentalization at what I realized at an older age, at 22, and then used, operated, and there was a path groomed. There are and were many paths groomed to enter, uh, like in certain. So there's certain encodings that were given or shown that have references to what comes out as time goes on. So whatever I was given in 2012 came out on the first, um, like one of the first triggers of opportunities for then was Corey Good's testimony. What he had to say was bits of truth, but it was edited, it was doctored. He could quite literally go on forever kind of talking about these things if there weren't certain safeguards active. Um, you could go on forever with that same energy output, just retelling the same thing to keep you interested. What I'm saying is people can be given certain levels of consciousness to see what they'll do once they get to a certain level, and they get cut off. Or they exude a tell, or many red flags that build up to a tell, and then an overall realization that, and a realization and a lesson in the degrees of truth and the degrees of learning, because our perspective requires degrees of understanding. We don't live in a world that's black and white. We live in a world that we're taught to act. We're taught to act like everything is black and white, and we're taught to act like we have chosen a side. When in actuality, everybody's a double agent in that perspective. Um, and if they're not a double agent, and they are quite literally. So, religion was created to act as a push and a pull. It will either pull you in from the dark side or push you away. Well, that works better with the dark side. So the dark side will either push you away to the light side, and the light side, um, religion, they both push to each other, in a sense. And depending on who you are and where you fall in the gray area of how you come to understand, people end up lining up. We're all trying to fit in two seats, and they're not even our seats. They're seats that we're being told to sit in a classroom that we just kind of appeared in, that everybody else is doing, that everybody else is in, and we're just doing what everybody else is doing because everybody else is doing what everybody else is doing, and that's the flow of energy. It's that's a form of artificial intelligence. Um, yeah. So the numbing of critical thinking, and that doesn't require any physical. That doesn't really require trauma. Just requires the right application to the right application in respect to the demographics. I completely lost my train of thought. It was the helicopter. Alright, so I guess I have to go to another one. Oh, here we go. So in my so I'm at 11 minutes, and this is a test to see how long of a recording I can do, and that's distracting me from hitting a point that might take longer than I think I have. But I've been posting these videos being chopped up, so I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay, so the trip chair, that's what I have a parallel to. I don't have any memories of the trip chair. I really don't know. I was not a part of the trip chair, but I have a very relative experience with technology that allowed me access to something very similar to the trip chair. But it's not the trip chair. I know for a fact. Because from what I've gathered, they have access to simulators. So yeah, so what I've gathered, they have access to simulators. And all they can do is simulate based on what they plug in and the variables that they calibrate with. The looking glass technology, I don't believe that it's really looking into the actual line of moment that could be perceived as time. It's what they do is they plug in equations of scenarios and situations, and they get a something close of what they want in the simulator, and then the trial and error begins of applying it out here, because in the simulator that technology creates such a wave, like big ripple wave throughout the simulated consciousness that we're all in. That doesn't mean this is all a fake world. It just means that there's an overlay that we've all accepted and been taught to look through that has deprived us of accessing the opportunities of the organic spiritual world. Um, so that's also another form of artificial intelligence. Um, okay. So with so yeah, their their technology. So what they do is they use mass consciousness, the energy of mass consciousness, to manifest what they want in a sense, or the direction that they push things, and that's how they use the simulator, because they shoot a person off into existence. It's not in the mind of what counts in universal law, and that this place has been tampered with so much that people that held universal law quite literally just kind of got phased out. Like that side of certain people, certain vessels, certain existences in this reality um, just got phased out. No one, people slowly started to forget um, the application of universal law and personal sovereignty that's attached to that. When that happens, it's a free for all, and that's why we are where we are at, because it's just one side got so big, one side blinded the other. Yeah, so after duality was created, one side blinded. So you have dark, light, and then you have the third party. It's like the truth of the story. You have two sides, and then what really happened. Um, it's like the third party perspective, the complete individual perspective. So yeah, so the mass the mass consciousness of everybody was is provide is, has been provided an opportunity to split, and in each one of those splits that were shown and that's easy to see, um, neither one of them makes sense. So we well, it's not funny. We make a choice to either get bounced between either of them, or just come to a point where we do subconsciously dissociate and just say, well, it's this one, or we end up in one side or the other unconsciously, without using the full totality of our conscious thought to realize exactly what we're doing and where our energy goes and our purpose. Um, as long as there's enough hyper enough energy, like high, like uplifting energy, no matter what it is, it's attractive. Um, so we're in this Groundhog Day perception where we slowly what certain bits of knowledge slowly kind of get pushed out from being distracted, and also comes from certain frequencies and things that they try to do. So this is a really interesting place to be for me right now. One, I've waited a very long time to do this, basically for myself to calibrate and to make sense of things, because I'm still figuring things out. I do know certain things, but I don't. I'm not saying listen to me or follow me. I'm just contributing my piece. The last time that so there's a fear that was placed there, and that's part of my dissociation. That's part of why I've been, this is such a delayed process. Um, in my simulated or orchestrated awakening, I guess, or fleecing, um, that basically created a fear in my craft. You know, I was basically, they try to put me back to sleep. That's what it is. That's what programming is. They come, they wake you up, they talk to whatever it is that you really are, and because they have technology to open you up like that, like a portal. Um, Not everybody, but that's how it was done to me. So it's like the unconscious but conscious opening and awakening. So I got to like witness, and I remember a lot of it, but it was like that side of me couldn't do anything about it. It was just like a pair of eyes. And there were certain things that I did do and could do, but so this is uncomfortable. It's all part of an ongoing operation. That is, it's oh my gosh. So there was the event in 2012 was a successful infiltration and intervention at the right time, because it had to be done in time. That's where everything was done to lock everything up. Um, it's basically just knowing how certain things work, being in the right place at the right time, having your technology and access to right the right tools for the right time, and having faith in who and what you contact. from the other side, and from the existing universe. What transmission did you pick up? And so they basically came, opened me up, well, all right. So now I'm getting into like what really is going down. So before they came to check me out, because that's what happens. You either access something or make enough noise on a certain level, and you pop up as a blip, and they'll come check you out, just kind of see what you are. They come check you out to make sure that you are here to at least take on one of their narratives to keep things going. They like to label things and name them. So that's programming. It gives you coordinates. Subconscious programming. What we look for and what we seek online and whatnot throughout our lives. It's a reflection of ourselves. Or should be, anyways. A reflection of, well, yeah. So what happens when they throw in a name that's dotted dotted through major narratives, that's that's running through the subconscious of everybody? Um, it's you plug in you you're plugged into the opportunity of each one of those titles, no matter the name, or no matter what religion. Um, that's where it's all pointed and directed to. We come here thinking, well, anyways, I won't go there. It's a little too confusing. So there's this narrative program that, anyways, when a being comes here, when something comes here to do something about it, or they have contingencies for that to make sure that they can make a balanced deal in a way that you don't really, in a way that's not fully known to that craft, because they know how to mess with filters, um, how you take in information, and it also has to do with how much noise is really out here, and the distraction of subtle noises that affects everybody. So in 2011, I was, well, here I'll use the terminology that I'm most familiar with. 2011, I attempted self termination. Um, and well, here I'll put it to you like this. Well, after there were many attempts. After my last attempt, and after every attempt, I remember waking up here, right back in the same place, same vessel, same body, same timeline, um, with the program, or with the mindset of like, I have to get the F out of here. And it was like, I don't know, it was a weird, like, like I had to get out of the, I don't know, it was weird. But after the last one, I did that, and it was like my last big hoorah, I guess. So apparently, so like that was a dark phase that I went through, and then after that, went to go get help, went to see a doctor, and was given a tool. And then while on this tool, I made contact with certain things that confirmed my retransmission to the other side. And I have memories of that, but I'm not supposed to access them yet because that affects everything. So after my retransmission and then having a confirmation, like a subtle confirmation of retransmission, and then an like a, a debriefing and a briefing all through. Well, so there were two contacts, of course. There was a neutral contact that kind of is faded back, and there was the first contact, and there's a negative contact. Well, it started off positive because it's well, I don't know. That's how they get you. They'll start off positive and then slowly go negative. And yeah. So damn, that light just threw me off. So my first contact was a briefing and a grooming, and oh yeah, that was. So it was contact before they. So there are other civilizations out there that are helping humanity, but they are doing it in a very smart way, and they know not to be known, or they know not to make. They know how to make the right amount of noise. Because this is a delicate situation for those who know and see what's going on. Like, who see the veil and the boundary that can or cannot attract attention, and to tend to that, and to basically not allow anything to come through. So my first contact, I was briefed about the second contact. The second contact has no idea about the first contact. I mean, the ones who contacted me, because they don't. I don't know. The one my first contact exists in a frequency that's undetectable. They don't exist to certain frequencies. Other frequencies they don't want to exist to. So this is the invoking or evoking the unveiling of a hidden intervention. Hidden's like relative, but something that I was hiding from myself. Oh man. So everything's like right. Everything makes sense and is understandable in my head. But the filters that it has to go through and the realizations of as it goes through filters, it hits certain backflows. I know what I'm trying to say, and as I say it, I become more conscious of it, and so it gets put through these filters to buffer it from to buffer it to basically just buffer it. You got to realize how fragile our minds are and how influential information can be even if it's not true. Everybody is under some type of program. Um, everybody has something to, some type of experience that they've been made to forget about. humanity's being made aware of a choice that they've never made in a way that won't break everything. Because that's basically what I had to go through in order to, yeah, to, yeah, to have my belief system broken, to have anything that I knew about broken, to experience, learn, know again, and then to be broken, and to do that in different forms of truth. As it's like a hundredth monkey in a sense. It's not like it is the hundredth monkey. The perspective that if one vessel or craft of a consciousness experiences something so many times that it is forced to learn, or something so heavy that a communication is needed on a larger level, like it needs to be known about now instead of, just being talked about and put into the telephone game and, basically just cycled. So in that breaking, so after that breaking and while that breaking was happening, parts of me had to be injected into the fence of mass consciousness. So I'm just gonna come out and fucking say it. What we do is we are the infection to the infection. We are the balance. And we are the balance that takes care. We are the balance that takes proper care. Not enabling care, but care that involves and applies the degrees of love and degrees of learnings, instead of just one aspect of learnings and emotions. So, my agreement, my soul contract is with everybody.